Oh hey guys, my name is Daniel. I'm here once again with you from the Challenger Learning Center. Today, look at this. I have some moon sand that I'm going to show you how to make from items that you have at the house. If you never played with this stuff is incredible, and you will have hours upon hours of fun with this stuff, I promise you. Before we jump on into the recipe and how to make this, I did want to talk to you about moon dust, the real dust on the moon, because there might be some things that you might not really know about that. That's very fascinating for sure. So dust on the moon behaves differently than it does on Earth. The moon has very little atmosphere, and so there's no wind on the moon, and therefore there's no erosion. And with that dust not eroding, it's sharp. Think of it like bits of pieces of glass on the moon. Okay, that's what the astronauts have to face and deal with when they're on the moon's surface. These grains of moon dust are caused by micrometeorite impacts when they hit the moon. These grains also remain, like I said, very sharp, very abrasive, meaning that they can, if the astronauts breathe them in deeply, it can cut up their lungs and cause some serious health problems to them. So NASA is very on top of this and always looking forward to our future moon missions and finding ways of keeping our astronauts safe. And I'll walk you through that in just a minute of what their plans are and some ideas that they're currently thinking about. In addition, moon dust can actually float above the moon's surface. With the very little atmosphere that's with the moon is not protected from solar winds and the charged particles involved in those solar winds. And therefore, this lunar soil or dust can become electrostatically charged. Think about if you ever pulled laundry out of a dryer and it kind of clung to you. That static is involved with this moon dust, and that can cause that to not only float above the moon's surface, but also stick to the astronauts' suits and get in the grooves of the suit there, and then it could possibly follow them back into the into their living quarters where they live, and that can also jam different parts of their clothes, like their zippers. It can ruin their clothes perhaps, and also, like I said, cause some health problems if they breathe it in really deeply. So NASA, of course, is looking forward to our future moon missions and looking at ways of keeping our astronauts safe. And some things that they're looking at is what's called an electrodynamic dust shield. That's been talked about. It's these types of panels that the astronauts would have that would kind of zap the dust away from them due to electrically charged panels that they would have. Another thing that they're thinking about is maybe electromagnets that would help either pull or drive off any magnetic lunar dust from where the astronauts are. They're also looking at air hoses. A big thing that I have found in looking around at different websites is the fact that they want to possibly have the astronauts leave their suits on the outside of their living quarters, wherever they board after they get off the main surface of the moon. They would leave their suit outside, and then they would go inside to the main cabin without their suit. That way the dust and all that glass type material within the dust stays outside, and that's a big thing to keep them safe. One thing I did not mention is, what is moon dust made of? Well, almost half of it is made of silicon dioxide glass. That's created by meteoroids hitting the moon. And they're also, the moon dust is made of iron, calcium, and magnesium. Some observations that I also found online from previous missions is people said that they felt it, and it feels soft like snow, but it's strangely abrasive. It's rough. They've also said it smells like gunpowder. Very interesting fact there. And so the big thing is to keep our astronauts safe when they go to the moon, and of course NASA's on top of that to keep them safe for sure. That is that's what they need to do. Okay, let's jump on into our recipe for our homemade moon sand that you can make at home, and however you want to do it, you can make it your own. Of course, this is safe. It's nothing like the moon dust that we just talked about, but make sure to work with an adult when you make this, though. Very important point. Come on over here and look at our things that we need to make our homemade moon sand. So we have some flour here, and also some oil. I have canola oil here. You can use whatever oil you have at the house, whether it be vegetable oil, olive oil, even baby oil. I found that some people made online as well. Use whatever you have at the house. I also have a few spoons, a bowl, some food dye, and a measuring cup. You'll see where that comes in just a minute. Now, before I begin, I do want to mention that the ratio is very important here. You want it to be 8 parts to 1 part. So 8 parts of flour to 1 part oil. Okay. If you want to make a big batch, you can do 8 cups of flour to 1 cup of oil, whatever you have at the house. Or if you break it down, you can do 2 cups of flour to 1/4 cup of oil. Or like what I'm going to do with you now is, and this is the batch I made before I came on with you guys. This is using 1/2 cup of flour and 2 tablespoons of oil. And that makes a good amount. So, I mean, if this is good for you, do the smaller batch, okay? Now, I'm going to show you a trick to coloring your moon sand. There's a trick to this to make sure that it really colors really well, and you can use whatever food dye you have at the house. You can even use some powdered paint. I found that online. You can do like I think a teaspoon, or a half a teaspoon was recommended for a batch. You can play with different ratios of your food dye and your paint. So let's go and get our oil in our bowl. I'm going to put that down right there. We need 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay, I'm going to get that in, and then we're going to put our food dye in the oil. That's the trick. You don't want to put the oil and the flour in there and then try to dye it, because it doesn't. I've done that in the past, and it doesn't really seem to work very well. It just makes it very spotted, and it doesn't really blend very well. So 2 tablespoons of oil goes in our bowl. The trick, like I said, do not add the flour quite yet if you are going to dye it a different color. So I have some blue food dye right here, and I'm going to mix this with our oil directly. I actually put, with this previous batch, I put 10 drops of blue food dye with it. Sounds like it's a lot, but I found that it really adds that pop of color that you want, that deep color there. It might have been an extra 1 or 2, but that's okay. I am more than okay with that. So the trick is to really mix this well. So what you want, like a flat based, like a flat edged tool. I'm just using the back of a spoon. You just want something to help mix this really well. Okay, I'm really getting in there and kind of see it. It should look like, with the blue food dye, it should look like you added pepper to our oil. You want it to really mix well. Break that food dye down as much as you can, because the better it's mixed, the better the outcome of the final product is going to be. Okay, so you can see that it kind of looks like there's some black pepper, a lot of black pepper in the oil. See that? That's your sign that it's pretty well mixed. That's what I've found when I've made this. And then from there, you can add 1/2 cup of flour directly into our oil and food dye mix. So I already pre-measured this out. I just wanted to make sure it was 1/2 cup. I think I have more than 1/2 cup actually. Okay, so 1/2 cup goes on in, and then we can mix it all in. And then we can get our hands in there and have fun with it. So there is a rough mix there. Let me go ahead and get this off the spoon. And I'm going to get in there myself. So let's go ahead and really mix this, really incorporate it. You want to break down any maybe food dye bubbles or food dye blobs that you see. You want that food dye to be as evenly incorporated through our flour and oil mixture as best we can. You can see that it's a nice deep blue. And that is pretty much it. If it seems a little bit damp, you can add a little bit more flour. If it seems a little bit dry, you can add a little bit more oil that you have at the house. So from here, you can mold this. You can see it's already molding like this. And then you can make whatever sculpture, whatever creation you want when you mold this, and then it just falls apart back into its original look and feel. So you just squeeze it to mold it. You can make whatever you want, whatever fun thing, whatever fun creation you want to make out of this, and then you can easily just crumble it right back up and it returns to its original form. So there you have it, guys, your own recipe to make your own batch of exciting moon sand. A few quick notes I did want to close with. One, work with an adult at all times, and two, for storage purposes, store it in an airtight container like I have here. This will keep your moon sand moist and good to play for weeks on end. I know that I will with this batch. One quick note I did notice after I finished filming this video was that the condensed recipe here of 1/2 cup of flour and 2 tablespoons of oil is actually technically not the 8-to-1 ratio that we discussed at the very beginning. It's technically 4-to-1. I did not catch that until after I filmed, but that leaves experimentation up to you guys. So this, like I said, is 4-to-1 ratio. To make it 8-to-1 ratio that we had discussed, only add 1 tablespoon of oil instead of 2. So I want you guys to try both. Try this recipe using both 1 tablespoon of oil and also 2 tablespoons. See what works best for you guys and let us know. Stay in touch. And we also want to know how your moon sand worked out and also what you did to make it your own, make it unique. I hope you guys learned a lot, both about not only how to make moon sand, but also about the real moon dust on the moon. I thank you guys for joining me, and I will catch you guys later.